All right, so what if the world we see, what if it's just a tiny fraction of the real story? Today, we're going to dive into a really intricate metaphysical system, one that suggests our reality is built on this hidden, ancient blueprint. Now, just to be clear, we're not here to judge it or endorse it. Our goal is just to understand the architecture it's describing. So let's pull back that curtain and see what's really going on. So, the entire framework we're looking at today really comes down to this one big question. Is the reality you and I experience the original design? I mean, what if we're living in some kind of modified program? And what if the original, much more powerful blueprint is still out there, just waiting for us to access it? Yeah, that's the rabbit hole we're heading down today. Okay, so where do we even begin with this? Well, according to the system, everything, and I mean everything, is built on a foundational grid. But here's the twist. It's not the mathematical system we're all used to. The core idea here is a massive shift in perspective, moving from a base 10 system to something much bigger, a base 12 system. And this is where you can see the core difference. On one hand, you've got the base 10 system. This framework links it to things like the Kabbalistic tree of life and describes it as a finite program. You could literally think of it like a battery that, eventually just runs out of juice. But on the other hand, you have the base 12 system. And this is described as an eternal architecture, like a perpetual energy generator that never, ever runs down. So you might be asking, what is this base 12 system actually built on? Well, it's a concept called the Cathara Grid. The absolute easiest way to wrap your head around it is to think of it as reality's underlying operating system. Like Windows or Mac OS, but for the universe. It's the holographic template that projects everything: consciousness, matter, even the dimensions themselves. It is, in short, the master blueprint. Okay, and this is where the super cosmic stuff gets really personal. The framework claims that the Cathara Grid isn't just some abstract idea floating out in space. No, it suggests this 12-centered grid maps directly onto the energy centers in the human body. It's what connects each and every one of us to that huge cosmic architecture. The whole idea is as above, so below. The macrocosm and the microcosm are perfect reflections of each other. So if that's the blueprint for reality itself, then what about us? Where do we fit in? What was humanity's original design within this whole grand structure? The source material we're looking at describes a template for humanity that was, let's just say, way more capable than what we experience today. And when I say more capable, I mean it's described as being almost unbelievably powerful. Forget the 2 active DNA strands we all learned about in biology. This proposes a 12-strand angelic DNA structure. This original design supposedly came with built-in multidimensional awareness, innate self-healing, and a direct plug-in to that eternal energy system we just talked about. And here's the really wild part. The keys to reactivating all this potential, they're said to be hidden in plain sight, right inside the 98% of our DNA that mainstream science often just calls junk. Which, of course, leads to the big question, the central conflict of this whole story. If we had this incredibly powerful design, what happened to it? Where did it go? Well, the source material points to a very specific event, an intervention that it claims deliberately corrupted the human blueprint. According to this story, a massive deception took place. It wasn't about creation, it was about modification, about limitation. And it was done by beings described as hybridized Anunnaki. And the source gets specific. It claims these entities, named Enki and Enlil, deliberately went in and switched off our DNA strands 4 through 12. They effectively unplugged humanity from our full potential and from our connection to that larger cosmic grid. And the result? The direct consequence of this deactivation was that shift we talked about, from the eternal base 12 reality to the finite base 10 program. This is what, according to the story, imposed the limited existence we know today. But look, the story doesn't just leave us stuck in that limited state. Not at all. After laying out this pretty big problem, the source material does a complete pivot right into the solution. It offers a clear pathway with specific techniques designed to restore that original system and reactivate all that dormant potential. And the ultimate goal here, it's not just some biological upgrade. It's about remembering. The whole process is said to unlock these deep cellular memories, which leads to a state called gnosis. And that's not belief. It's something totally different. It's a direct, personal, and absolutely undeniable knowing of who you really are and where you come from. So how do you actually do this? Well, one of the main techniques described is called the Maharic Seal. It's basically a very focused visualization. Step 1, you just center yourself and set a clear intention to activate your shield. Next, you visualize this pillar of pale silver light coming up from the very core of the earth, right up through your body. Then, you consciously expand that pillar out so it becomes the shimmering, egg-shaped shield of light all around you. And the final step is to seal that field, really affirming your own personal sovereignty and protection. But the Maharic Seal is presented as way more than just a personal shield. It's seen as a powerful tool for embodying your higher self. The idea here is that by reconnecting your own personal energy grid to the larger planetary grid, you can actually take part in healing not just yourself, but the entire Earth as well. And that brings us from the individual right to the collective, because this framework proposes that while one person doing this is powerful, that power gets amplified, enormously when a whole group acts together in unison. It leads to what's described as a collective reboot. Now, to explain the physics behind this collective action, the source material gives us a pretty fascinating twist on a very famous formula. In this version, consciousness isn't just a bystander watching things happen. No, it's a critical variable, one that, when you square it, is said to have an exponential impact on the very fabric of reality. And this is where the numbers get really, really interesting. According to the math they present, if just 12,000 people focus a coherent intention at the same time, the energy that's created isn't just additive, it's exponential. We're talking 12,000 squared, which equals 144 million consciousness units. That's just meant to show the truly mind-boggling power of a synchronized group focus. So the source then lays out a practical application for this whole principle, a synchronized global meditation. The focus point is a key planetary energy node, the Giza Pyramids in Egypt. And the goal? To collectively pour all that focused energy into restoring Earth's original base 12 grid. And here's a really crucial point they make. This is for everyone. It's totally inclusive. No special training. You don't even have to be there physically. Anyone can participate. As we start to wrap this up, this entire super complex system really seems to boil down to one single powerful idea, and it's summed up perfectly by this quote. You are who you've been looking for. The message is simple. The power, the knowledge, the solution, you don't have to look for it out there. It's already inside you. And that leaves us with one last question to chew on. Whether you accept this specific framework or not, it really forces us to think about a powerful idea. If our consciousness truly does have the power to shape reality, then what blueprint are you, and all of us collectively, choosing to build with our thoughts and our intentions every single day? That's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us.